Hi, we're reading Same Sun Here by Silas House and Neela Vishwani. We are on page 258. So let's get started. It's April 10th, 2009. Dear River. So we know Nina is writing to River. Dear River, spring! It's here! It's here! Today, the mannequin in the boutique window is wearing a sundress and sandals. I stood on my tiptoes on Hester Street and peered into a window box and saw some flowers blooming. I know the yellow ones are daffodils and the purple ones are crocus. Do you have those flowers in Kentucky? At the library garden, there are lots of white flowers that look like upside down teacups, and a few with pink bushy blossoms. At night, walking past the library garden, you can hear crickets chirping. The air is warm, and it seems like there are little bits of electricity in everyone's eyes. So New York, they're happy it's spring because it's cold there in the winter. I feel like I will grow a little bit now that spring has come. Kiku is still growing, which seems unfair because he is already tall, 6 feet tall. We know he is still growing because the other day he was walking down the hall and he hit his head on the pots and pans from the ceiling, hanging from the ceiling. Ouch. That has never happened before. I don't know if I've told you this, but our kitchen is also our hallway. They are the same place. We have one closet in the apartment, so we hang all the pots from the ceiling and keep our plates and glasses on shelves that Daddy nailed into the wall. It is good we are not big people, because if we were, we would have to turn sideways on the way to the bedroom. Thank you for the copy of the Time magazine. It's crazy that you're on a magazine cover, like a famous person, like a movie star. What does that feel like? If you move to Hollywood, I hope Mom will let me come visit you. It seems as if everyone is really paying attention to the Appalachian Mountains now. I was really happy that your team won the basketball game too, and that you did the big last basket and that Mark was there to watch the game. I hope he gets his artificial leg soon. Kiku says those are very expensive. Today, my history teacher gave a lesson on serfdom. So they're in history class. He started out by saying that luck is as simple as where and when you're born and who you're born to. In the old days, if you were born a serf, you stayed a serf. So a serf is like a slave or a servant. You don't get paid. Every single country in the world has had serfs or slaves. England, Egypt, Russia, Iran, Japan, India, Spain, Ghana, China, France. Mr. Orff said it's because there are some people in the world who want to control other people, who want to be comfortable and rich and protected, and they don't care who they hurt to get that way. It seems so unfair that some people work hard but don't have anything to show for it. Someone asked if America has serfs nowadays, and Mr. Orff said the closest thing is illegal immigrants who have to pay money to people who smuggle them into the country. Mr. Orff said that a lot of American employers take advantage of illegal immigrants because they will work for less money than citizens. I kept thinking about Mom and Daddy and all the people Daddy works with at the catering hall. I usually talk a lot in history, but when the discussion went to illegal immigrants, my hands sweated and I felt like a knife had come through the air and cut me apart from the rest of the class. But no one but me knew it had happened, so she felt very nervous talking about illegal immigrants because she's an immigrant, though she's not illegal. After school, I went to the library with Mrs. Lau because Mom and Kiku were both working late. Remember I told you about Mai, who teaches citizenship class at the library? She also teaches Mrs. Lau's a free ESL, English as a Second Language class. She is so nice. Today she gave a writing assignment, and I sat next to Mrs. Lau and helped her with it. Now I will type up the story that Mrs. Lau wrote so you can read it too. So this is Mrs. Lau's story. One day I sat on the subway next to a lady wearing pants sewn in my factory. I recognized the pants from the seams. I asked the lady if her pants were comfortable, and she said yes. I asked the lady where she bought the pants, and she said, at Macy's for $35. I never knew how much our pants cost. $34 is how much money I made in 2 days of work. I sat on the subway and thought about all the people I worked with at the factory and all the pants we made and how many people there were in the world wearing them. So you can see they definitely take advantage of immigrants, don't they? Because she made $34 in 2 days of work and the pants cost $35. Isn't that a good story? Now, whenever I look at someone's clothes, I wonder who made them. I always like shirts that say made in India on the tag, like the manhole covers in New York. It is amazing to me that those big round pieces of metal on New York streets came all the way from India, just like our family. I asked Mai if working in the factory was like serfdom, but she said she didn't know. Then I asked Mai about the line Mommy and Daddy will have to say to become citizens. I have memorized the line because the words are so grand, almost like a prayer. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely, entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. I can say it all in one breath. I did it like that for Mai, and she laughed. She said it was not anything to worry about. She said we could still go back to India whenever we wanted. She said there are so many Americans, legal, illegal, citizens, not citizens, who love America and also the country their ancestors come from. I asked her if she felt that way about China, and she said that's what it means to be an American, to be free to love who and what you want, and to keep a lot in your heart at once, right? So you can still love your country and America at the same time. When Mrs. Lau and I got home, the landlord was waiting in front of her door. It's a good thing I didn't go to our apartment first. It's a good thing I had my school bag with me. Mrs. Lau said, "This girl is walking my dog. I'm too old to go up and down the stairs." And she leashed Cuba, and he and I left. We walked around Chinatown. It felt like hours. Poor Cuba was panting and walking slower and slower, so we went to the library. I wrapped his leash around my leg and sat on a bench and did my homework. He lay down and watched the pigeons and barked at a boy on a skateboard. I had some pretzels in my bag, so I ate those for dinner and fed some to Cuba. He took the food so gently from my hand. I could feel his whiskers and soft tongue and little front teeth on my hand. After a long time, we went back to Mrs. Lau's apartment. The landlord was gone. Mrs. Lau said he'd been very rude to her and that he demanded to know where her son was. He also refused to look at the leak in her ceiling where the dead mouse had fallen through. And when she showed him her cracked windows where the wind and rain comes in, he said, "They look fine to me." Then Mrs. Lau said we should clean. She said, "Spring cleaning make everybody happy." We took a bucket and filled it with water and soap, and then we swiped Mrs. Lau's windows with newspaper. I didn't believe her when she said newspapers are better than rags for cleaning windows, but she was right. We got the windows to sparkle. Then we flipped over Mrs. Lau's mattress, and I stood out on her fire escape and shook out her 2 rugs. I felt like we were making a new world just the way we wanted it to be. The best part was when we let all the parakeets out of their cages. They flew around the apartment, all 7 of them, flapping and squawking and dancing from foot to foot on the furniture. Sometimes Mrs. Lau clapped, and they rose up all at once with a great whirring of wings. One parakeet even pooped on the sofa while he was flying. Cuba ran around the apartment, wagging his tail at the birds, and Mrs. Lau sat on the couch and laughed and laughed. Sometimes Cuba bowed down and stretched out his front paws like he wanted to play, and then Zizi flew to his back, and he would start to circle trying to catch her. His toenails sounded like fast little drum beats on the wood floor. While the parakeets were flying around, we cleaned their cages. We got rid of all their poop and changed their water and put down clean newspaper. It was kind of sad catching them and putting back in their cages, although they didn't seem to mind. Well, the library is closing in 10 minutes and my time on this computer is up. So goodbye for now, Riverdene Justice. Please give Rufus a pat for me. Cheerio from your best friend, Mina. I hope you enjoy reading. See you next time.